Hi, this is Kim White with the My Sexy Business Team. I'm here with the beautiful Christy Garcia, who has 5 questions to ask this princess.
I sure do. Good morning, Kim.
Good morning.
So my very first question is, what is your biggest piece of advice, aside from making a plan, in a collaboration?
Ooh, I think the vetting process is probably the biggest thing, and to start small. Like, you can vet along the way because there's things that'll come out personality-wise, integrity-wise, just goal-wise. They'll come out along the way that you can't really prepare for. You can do all the vetting, you can make all the plan, you can do all of that, but then there's just things. Some people are not very structured with time. Some people are extremely structured with time, and there's a clash there, and sometimes it's not you and the other person. Maybe it's 2 other people in the collaboration that are not getting along, and it can make you miserable. So I think doing something small and vetting like hard, doing your due diligence.
Due diligence. I love that. That's going to lead me into question number 4, because it fit. So what are the top 3 things that you look for when vetting collaborators?
I think probably the very first thing is a positive attitude. If someone is negative, they're just not my flavor. I don't not like them. It's just I can't do something amazing and huge with someone who has a bad attitude or is a victim or feels sorry for themselves. I mean, there's a whole list of things. And, maybe it's just a season for them. But during a season of that, I still can't do it. I will not put them under that pressure. It's not just about me. It's also about them. Because if they're already at that place of breaking, then a collaboration can break them. And I just don't want to do that. The second thing, trying to think. The second thing is probably I look for the integrity part of them. Do they show up when they say they're going to? Do they actually follow through? Do they tell me lies? Because here's the thing that we'll tell you real quick. We make excuses for why we're late, but the truth is if we're late, we're late. And so I would rather know that you were chasing your dog down the street because he got out and you couldn't be back in time than for me to hear an excuse that's not true. Because we all have life happen. And so I'd rather know that, I just didn't prepare well than to hear, well, it was somebody else's fault. I just don't like that. So I think owning your own stuff and walking in integrity is a huge one. And probably the third thing is that they have to understand influence. They don't have to be like a master at understanding it, but they have to at least understand we have a great responsibility when we do something together. Because if you don't have that understanding, you can be very disrespectful to your influence and to someone else's. And I am very cautious about that because I guard my influence. I've worked to this point, protecting my influence, using it well, leveraging it, but also guarding it because it's important. Perception of people is only part of it. What you do when other people perceive you're not doing the right thing, what you do when no one's looking is really more important to me, because we can overcome the outward perception, but we cannot overcome a character problem. That's a private work. And so I think that those are my top 3.
And all 3 were fabulous. I love all 3 of those.
Thank you.
I am taking those to the bank and holding them in my collaboration pocket. Thank you. Okay, so my next question is, when a collaboration turns into a joint venture, what steps do you take then? So if I've got a collaboration going already, but now it's turning into, it's going to have some type of money involved in it, what are my next steps? What do I need to change? What do I need to add? What kind of steps do I need to take?
Well, I think it's very important that you start small again. I think that's one of the key things. But I also want to throw out there that you can have a collaboration with the same person that you have a joint venture with and you have an affiliate with. And you can do it all at the same time as long as you're very clear on which part is which and where the responsibilities and expectations lie. A collaboration, you don't bring money to the table unless you're going to pool some money to pay for marketing or printing or something.
Okay.
A joint venture, you're both doing work and you both are going to get some of the profit. Very clear plans allows you to not just pivot from a collaboration to a joint venture, but it also allows you the freedom to have a collaboration still going on and a joint venture. And I think it's very important to slow down so you can speed up.
Mm-hmm.
We feel like if we have an opportunity to do something, we have to go full throttle that minute or we're going to miss it. And that's just not the case most of the time. 99.9% of the time, and that's my princess, analytics, but most of the time, there is not the rush that you feel, the pressure that you feel. I don't corner well. If someone gives me an ultimatum of today or never, it's going to be never every time. Because I feel like why are you scared for that extra day or whatever to get this all in order?
Right.
And I've done a lot of things. I've done a lot of things that have turned into collaborations. I've done a lot of collaborations that have turned into joint ventures. And maybe we go a little ways down the road and then we go, oh, wait a minute, this is not the same. And so we have to step back and go, let's just get something in writing, a rough draft, and then let's work on this. And that's also something I think is okay as long as you understand, like, who you're working with is probably the most important part of that. If you haven't done a collaboration that's come to completion with someone, I really don't even recommend you do a joint venture. If you've done some things with them, like that you've already gotten benefit out of, so to speak, then I think you can start, working your way that way. Because high-level influencers do big things, but the truth is we got to practice first. Like, it's a matter of practicing how that works, because even putting something together as a joint venture has so many moving parts that resentment can come real easy if everybody is not completely clear about what it means. I might have a great idea and say, hey, let's do this thing, and I've done it before, so I know all the parts. Right. And then you come in and go, wait a minute, that's not what I signed on for, because you didn't know all the moving parts. And so I think relationships are always first. Like, keep the people, forget the business part first, and then figure out what you can do in business. If you have to go away from a collaboration and exit a joint venture to keep someone in your life that is important to you, I think that's way more valuable than a completed joint venture.
Right. Totally makes sense to me. Thank you. So the step would be to do the collaboration, finish the collaboration, and then, vet that. And then the next step with that person, after you've built that trusting relationship, is to go into a joint venture.
I think so. And, I am really bad. I'm just going to tell all my sins here, but I'm really bad about, I want to do a collaboration with someone that I might want to ask to do a joint venture later. Right. Or I might want to do something with them in business in another way. Right. I like doing collaborations first because everybody can walk away whole. That's It's a legal term, but it also is a relationship term. I don't want to damage you to accomplish what I want to in my business. So if it means you need to not be that part of my business, I think that's a better plan. Right. Than to drag you through and we finish something and we hate each other at the end. Because, unfortunately that happens. That's why the exit plan is so important. because if I know this is how I'm going to end this, then there's no hard feelings. Like if you decide to end something and they don't really want to end it, but you have an exit plan and they've known the whole time that
Right.
that was in place to where you can use it, I think that's important.
Right. So use the collaboration as a vetting process, really, for joint venture, if that is down the road a plan. I love it. That's awesome. Thank you for that. Okay, so my next question to move things along is, what is your key to living a sexy life?
Oh my goodness. I would have to say probably that just knowing your priorities. You know, if you know your priorities and you honor them, it brings about a sexy life. Because, you know, I know that I want to honor my husband. He's a priority. My family is a priority to me. So if work looks like it's going to take away from my family, it's a hard no. It's a hard pass. If it's going to be something that adds to my family or gives us benefit in our family for something, and it doesn't mean that I never do work and I always be with them. Like, it's not that kind of a priority. But the priority is if this is going to hurt my family in any way, it's a no.
Right.
Simple math, it's a no.
Right. Hard no, that is it.
Yeah. So priorities is probably the biggest thing to start with, because all your plans should be made off of priorities. All of your decisions should be made off your priorities. It all should align and be congruent with everything you do.
Right. Awesome. I love that. Priorities, priorities, priorities equals sexy life.
Whoop, whoop.
My last question of my 5-question interview is, what is the most complex yet most rewarding collaboration you have ever had?
Oh, I think probably it was a big, I'll just call it a big deal that we did in the oil field to put investors, mineral owners, landowners, and operating companies like all together at one time, all on the same page, all in agreement. That's probably the most complicated and messy collaboration, because, and I used to call it a ballet. Everybody would tease me because, you know, it's all men, but it was like a ballet, because if the ballerina over here didn't show up, the production couldn't go on. And if this ballerina over here wants to not show up, and so getting everyone scheduled, getting everyone on the same page, making everyone understand the same plan, all of that, I believe that is a ballet, because when it happens, it's an amazing performance. But when it doesn't, it's pretty ugly behind the curtains.
I love the analogy of the ballet. I mean, Lifetime Dance Mom, your hubby himself even knows the ballet terms, so this is just so cute and funny for me.
and I don't even have a girl. Like, that's another thing. I don't even have a girl to like know this stuff.
I love it. And such a perfect analogy. That's so great. Oh, awesome. And why was it the most rewarding?
I think it was rewarding because it was such a big accomplishment. Mm-hmm. It was such a, you know, no one was taken advantage of in this situation. And I think that's the biggest thing for me. That's the biggest win, is when it's a win across the board. Every ballerina had a win in that deal. And everyone came out on top without having to be on top of someone else. That
is sexy and that is rewarding. Absolutely. Oh, that's so amazing. Thank you so much. That is it. I'm out of questions.
Well, and we have like 30 seconds, so we did good. Thank you. Thank you for being in collab class again.
Thank you so much, and thank you for answering my questions wholeheartedly.
Always. Thank you. Happy Saturday.
You too.